It's week 5, we're out on pasture. We're gonna talk about grass, we're gonna talk about weather, we're gonna answer a bunch of your questions from YouTube. Let's get started. So we're into week 5 of raising chickens and it's going really awesome. Look at these birds, they're happy, they're healthy. You can see the green grass behind them. This is the area where they had been. Note it's not all burnt out and crazy. It's just lightly peppered with chicken manure. They're doing really great. Getting some drinking in after their morning breakfast. They can eat this dry feed and then they get thirsty, so they're out drinking. But this is life in the chicken tractor. It's really cool. Let's pick up 2 birds and look at the size difference now that we're into week 5 between a male and a female. So I got 2 birds here, a male and a female. You can see the female is a lot smaller, the male is a lot bigger. We're into week 5 and you can really start to tell the difference between the 2 birds. Look at that, it's crazy. So the female on this side of the camera here, her comb on top, that little red line extending off her beak, is a lot smaller, a little more pale, where the male has a little bit more red comb and wattles. The wattles are starting to come in and they're a little bit more tall and pronounced, but the real big difference is in the size there. I'm gonna put these guys down, let them do their thing. So you could see that they're really starting to feather out. They're getting bigger. You could see on the scale of, holding them in my hands. Male's probably up to like 2 pounds live weight right now. Still small birds, but they're growing. I like doing the males and females, or growing the males and females, because it gives me a size variety for my customers. Some customers want a little smaller bird, some want a little bit bigger. If you went all males, you might be able to reduce the time that you have the birds out on pasture because they grow bigger quicker. But I like the straight run, does really well. So here we are into Thursday. It's Thursday today. And I'm out with the homestead batch. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm shooting the series in the fall, so the mornings are starting to get cool and the days are still really warm and bordering into hot, high 80s. And then the nights get back cool again. And that temperature difference was something I was going to talk about. Then I got a question from Dim Diamond on YouTube, and they asked, do I bring the chickens outside during the day and then bring them into a barn at night, or are they outside in the chicken tractor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? The answer to that is yes. Once they're out here, that work is done. They're out here, they live their life out here for the remainder of it until they go into the freezer or the oven. So with that comes some thought process. That I do this seasonally when there's grass, because the grass, like I said in the last video, is where the magic is. If the birds aren't eating grass, then that's why put them out, why do this work. If I were to move them back inside and move them out, I'd be handling the birds every day. It would stress the birds out. Sure, they would get used to it, but I'm sure it's not what their preference is. So with these chicken tractors, I think of a few things when it comes time to weather. We'll go from hot to cold. Really, really hot. You see the back is open and the front is open. I got a nice cross breeze. There's a little cross breeze underneath here, but it is covered fully with a tarp, so it's more weatherproof. There's always somewhere for the birds to get out of. No matter what way the wind direction is, the way this is designed, there's always a corner for all the birds to kind of take shelter into, and there's always some shade. I also orient my chicken tractors based on my weather patterns here on property, and that is specific to my piece of land and specific to my management style. But all my weather comes out of the northwest, and my fields run north to south primarily, and so I run my chickens north to south. And what that does is the stronger weather from the wind as it comes in on a diagonal is taken, the brunt of it is taken by the tarp. I still get a nice breeze through the tractors on the hotter times of the year, and I might adjust how they're angled just a little bit depending on what I know the weather patterns is going to be. And in general, these allow enough airflow and enough coverage. If you get a tarp that's 10 feet by 14 feet, that'll cover the entirety lengthwise and over the top all the way down to the bottom. You can see it there, and on the other side, that tarp will give them shade and weather coverage. So between the tarp, the positioning, and their feathers, they feather out, depending on the time of year, a little bit more, a little bit less. That's how they stay protected. But I don't move them into a barn during the day. The real benefit is the birds being on grass. Last thing to note in today's video is this, my t-shirt. It's my new favorite shirt. It's very comfortable, and it's from Outland Farm Brewery. Friends of mine, Mike and Heather Holland, they're moved up to Maine, they bought a farm, and Heather raised chickens almost by herself this year. Following the chicken tractors, Mike and her built these chicken tractors and raised Cornish cross. And she's been selling them at a farmer's market, some other customers that visit the farm, and had a really successful, great first year. I helped mentor her along the way. And you know, we did a lot of text messaging back and forth, and it was just awesome to see a success story and see the model that I've used here. I've been copying Joel Salatin's model, and there's other people around the country who are doing this. Heather and I worked closely together this year, and she had a very successful year raising both chickens and pigs the way I do here on Camps Road Farm. If you have any success stories, I want to see your farm website. Leave it in the comment section below. The YouTube spam filter might pick it up, and I'll approve those comments, but I want to see your farm website. If you're raising chickens for meat, we're only going to be able to get better at doing this by strengthening our community and growing and showing each other, you know, examples of how it can be done, and I want to see that. Leave it in the comment section, and then we'll go on to tomorrow. So let me explain why I'm sitting in a truck. It is currently Saturday, but I'm pretending that it's Friday because on Friday I brought a batch of chicks to the processor. Now, I have chickens in batches that I rotate overlapping throughout the year to always supply more product to my customers. And on those days where I have to bring the chickens to the processor, I spend a lot of time in the truck. I have to drive them to the processor. I sit in a cafe on the internet and do work. Then I pick the chickens up and I drive them back home again. Then during those days, Kate or somebody else on farm does chores for me, and I'm in the truck. Now, the more accurate, you know, video, like live update, would have been me driving and like doing this conversation, but as I have trouble doing two things at once and I believe in road safety, I'm shooting this video the day after. So this brings up a topic. Let me get to my note here. Just, you know, stored a note, no shameless plugs about anything here. From James Miller asking if I process any of my own chickens or if I bring them all out to be USDA. And the real quick on that is I used to process all my chickens, and that's where the idea for the chicken CSA came about, because legally in Connecticut I have to pre-sell the live chicken in order to process it on farm in an uninspected facility and then give it to a customer. So I have to pre-sell the live chicken. With the CSA, I've pre-sold 20 live chickens per person, which makes that a little bit easier. And then we're going to the USDA in order to sell at my farmer's market, in order to have restaurant and grocery store sales and anything else. I need to have a USDA inspected bird to be able to do that legally and then get the proper liability coverage from insurance. And if you're going to operate as a business, you have to have liability insurance. If you're going to have liability insurance, you have to do things by the books. I also like to follow all the rules, even though it might be hip to disregard some of those rules, just because I sleep better at night and no one can hold anything against me. So I processed on farm. I still process some on farm, but not for customers, mostly just for us here on farm and the staff. Like I'll give them out to some of the brewery staff or whatever, or we'll eat them. But for the most part, I bring the birds out to be processed. And why not split that up is because, you know, it's more efficient for me to do one big batch at the processor at once versus allocating more days to processing birds, where I do some on farm where it takes all day and some off farm where I can sit and get work done and I don't need to hire a staff for the day and have other people running and have liability and all that stuff. So for now, I bring most of my birds USDA. I do a very small percentage for us at home, and that's the way it's working out. I have a bunch of stuff lined up for a mobile processing unit. There's another USDA place opening closer to me. We could do more chickens on farm with our CSA model, but I'm going to address that in future years and future videos for this video series. But for now, that's why I do it. Let's go on to actual Saturday. So it's Saturday for real, it's later in the day, and I had an awesome day at our farmer's market selling chickens, doing a CSA pickup. We offered fresh chickens this week, and then we came home and had a farm tour and brought people around the farm, showed them, you know, the birds out on pasture, our pigs out in the woods, our hop yard. It was really great, exposing more people to agriculture. That's kind of what I live for. So getting into some YouTube questions with these birds right here, had one from Derek Drock. He asked if there's any taste difference between the Cornish cross birds and the Freedom Rangers. Now I've raised both in the past, actually at scale too, so it wasn't like I raised 3 Freedom Rangers. Managed the Rangers a little bit differently, and I'm going to do experiments with that next year. With the Cornish cross, they live up to 8 weeks, and with the Freedom Rangers, they live 11 to 12 weeks to get about the same size carcass. So there's an extra month there. And the difference with the two when it comes to meat quality, with the Cornish cross, they're slower moving, faster growing. Their meat quality in general tends to be a little bit lighter quality. So it's not quite as flavorful. It's a little bit more, you know, the difference between the two is kind of nuanced. Some people say it's night and day. Some people just can't tell the difference at all. My customer feedback, some people really love it. Some people just don't care or don't notice. So with the Cornish cross, they're not moving as much, and with that not moving as much, their meat tends to be a little bit lighter. If you think about the difference between light meat and dark meat is movement or flight or walking, where the leg meat, which is typically dark, it's because the birds are walking around, there's more blood flow, so there's more blood going in the area, that muscle is moved more, so it's in use, and that's what makes it a little bit tougher, a little bit darker. Where the breast meat, the breasts aren't doing anything on those chickens, and it's lighter because doesn't need to be as much regular blood flow. The Cornish cross are bred to have a little bit larger breasts, a little bit larger meat all around, and with them being less active, it's a little bit lighter. But with being on grass, it is a lot more flavorful than what you would get in the stores. With the Freedom Rangers, they're moving around, they're way more active, they forage more, and they're living an extra month longer. So their meat as a whole tends to be darker. They have a little bit smaller breast meat, just the way they were been selectively bred throughout the years for their meat qualities. So they have smaller breasts, a little bit darker meat quality. It can change in between the two. Some people notice it, some people don't. I like the Cornish cross because they're predictable. I would like to move away from them as more people get into the Rangers and the more chickeny tasting chicken. But what my market can support right now and what my farm can handle, that's why I've gone with the Cornish cross. I have videos on why I chose what breed over what, so I'll have that in the link in the section below, and then we'll head on to Sunday. So now we're into Sunday morning. Birds moved along just fine. You can see they're growing, they're active, they're standing on their own, they're just good. And they've got that fresh grass, fresh bugs. Life is good. So it's Shameless Plug Sunday. You heard me talk yesterday, I raised the Freedom Rangers and the Cornish cross, and no matter what type of meat bird you raise, you can use the chicken tractors that I'm sitting in right now. And if you want to learn how to build one of those chicken tractors, I wrote a book. It's a good book. People are buying it, people are loving it. I'm getting tons of 5-star reviews on Amazon. And if you want to support this project, if you want to support Farm Marketing Solutions, pick up your copy of the book. All that information is on the farmmarketingsolutions.com website. All the videos for this series are on that website, and going forward, all of my chicken information is going to be organized, as well as information on pigs, hops, apples, vegetables, farm business planning, marketing, all that stuff, farmmarketingsolutions.com. Enough with the shameless plugs, let's head on to Monday. Hi there, I'm in the lawn, laying down on the grass. Why am I on the grass? Because you guys asked what exactly was the pasture like, or the grass that the birds are on, and that, composes some of their diet. So looking around here, I have some dandelion greens. These are really good. The broadleaf stuff like this, like dandelion greens, plantains, chickens, they can't really bite and chew and tear. They can peck holes in things. That's why they like young, tender grass shoots. They can chew on those. Or they like broadleaves, where they can peck a little piece of it and break it off. And as I picked up this dandelion green completely at random, you flip it over, that's a slug. I'm gonna save this, I'm gonna feed it to the chickens. So I have a slug, dandelion greens. What else do I got here? I got some clover in here. I have plantain, I know I can see it over there. And then like Kentucky bluegrass and some other fescue and other things that I don't even know. To be honest, I don't know every type of grass out there. I'm working on it, it's one of those things. But yeah, I encourage everything to grow both in the lawn and in the pasture. Have a really diverse diet. The chickens will choose what they want to eat. They're going to focus on what they want to eat. Clover is really good because it's high in protein and it's a broadleaf and often has seed heads. Birds really like things that are low and have seeds and have those broad leaves. And, it drives me crazy. That's the bus behind me. It drives me crazy that people walk around with chemicals and spray chemicals on their lawn and get rid of things like dandelions, when all I have to do is wait and all the dandelions are gone. You have a field full of yellow for a little bit and it's edible, and then it goes away and your grass is green again. I do nothing to treat for dandelions or weeds of any kind, just because if you mow and you maintain and you have birds going through, life is good, pasture is good. So speaking of pasture, I'm in the lawn, we're gonna go over to the pasture, I'm gonna feed the slug to my birds, and then let's take a look on what I have growing where the other set of birds are. So here we are in the main pasture with my batch of birds behind me, and I gathered a few samples just because things are a little scattered, but in front of me I'm looking at, this is lamb's quarter. Lamb's quarter is great, a lot of antioxidants. This is actually good to eat for humans, and you see it's full of seed heads. If you think about grains, we're feeding the birds grains. Grains are just seeds, when you get wheat and corn and all that stuff. It's, just seeds. Birds eat that. It's great. It's wonderful. And this is healthy for humans to eat. It's got to be healthy for birds to eat. pink-rooted pig's weed. Don't know if they eat it, but I got it. It's broadleaf. They have those leaves that they can peck. It's got all these seed heads. Doesn't bother me that it grows. It's easy to mow down, and you know, it adds a little diversity. Oh, what else? This is just some grass, some orchard grass, and I think it's orchard grass, and full of seed heads. You know, this time of year, they're putting some seeds out. They're a little stressed, and more good nutrition for the birds. Oh, mint-infused pastured poultry. I have a lot of wild mint in this pasture, and they're, you know, I don't know if they eat it or not. I haven't been keeping that close tabs, but when you move the chicken tractors over it, I just put it in my hat. Mint actually helps keep the gnats away. So when I'm doing chores, I'll stick this in my hat, and I notice a difference in how many bugs, you know, fly around my head during chores. It's good. I'm a lucky dude. You got this stuff, burdock. Burdock puts out seeds that are pretty gnarly. It's got these broad leaves. The sheep really love to eat it. And apparently the roots are medicinal. I don't know anything about that, but maybe I will someday. But all that to say that I have a very diverse ecosystem out here on the pasture. I have a ton of different stuff that the birds are eating. They choose what they like, what they eat, depending on what they're feeling like they're in the mood for. And my job is to keep the microbes healthy by managing my livestock in a responsible way and managing my cutting and my grassland, and the rest kind of, you know, falls into place. I'm getting better year to year. I'm not a complete expert on all this stuff, but I'm learning. There's a lot of experts out there, and they've written some good books, and I recommend digesting as much as you can. On to tomorrow. So it's Tuesday. We're at the end of week 5 here. It's been another joyous day. Beautiful outside, a little cool last night. Not that cool, but cooler. And has been going really well. Thank you guys for all your engagement and comments on the YouTube channel. This has been a lot of fun for me so far, and I'm excited for the next couple weeks to come. Next week, we're gonna get into grain a little bit more. I know I got some questions on grain and what kind of grain and stuff that I feed my chickens. So we're gonna answer those questions and how to source grain and blah, 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 blah. So if you have any questions on that, you can leave them in the comment section for this video and I will answer them next week. We're also gonna dip into profitability just a little bit because that goes hand in hand with the grain discussion. These birds require inputs and those inputs require money. I have one piece of homework for you this week. One piece of homework. If you do nothing else, if you could do me a favor. I've been putting a lot of effort into this video series, a lot of effort into farm marketing solutions, and if you could share that message to inspire and educate the next generation of farmers, I need your help. Share the videos with anybody that you think might be interested in raising chickens in 2017 is next year, or in the future sometime. Share this video series, share the YouTube channel, subscribe, and just help me spread the word, spread the message. That's it. Asking for that one little favor this week, and until next time, I will see you out in the field.